Well, welcome, Christina, to Cleveland Connectors. I'm so excited to have you here today. I know this is like long overdue. I've been wanting to kind of like hear more about your story. So I'm so excited to hear about it and share it with everybody. And I feel like the best way to do it is really kind of just to let you tell your story the best way. I feel like a lot of people have things that happen in their life and it really kind of evolves and changes their direction. And I really love seeing that passion in you. And yeah, just like, I don't know how you want to start, but just tell me a little bit about what you're doing right now and how you got to that point.
Yeah,
Um, yeah.
absolutely. So I guess my kind of spiritual journey, if you will, started after my divorce. I think I'm like 8 years divorced now. I don't even know. But when that happened, I had been with the same person since high school, so like 17 years. And that was just a very like bottom of my world kind of falling out. And really at that point in time, I would have done anything to feel better. So I was just really desperate to feel better. And so any kind of suggestion that came my way, I was so tired of feeling sick and tired and sad that I was willing to try it. And that led to some things that stuck and some things that didn't. I picked up running, so I'm a runner now. I really got into yoga, got my yoga teacher training. I started traveling on my own more internationally.
Wow.
I did a lot of things, but kind of a pivotal point in that was looking back that year after the divorce, and I was just a mess. And that's probably all I talked about was like the demise of my marriage, and I'm never going to love again. And I had just bought in this big, beautiful home with my husband. Like we hadn't even been there 2 years, and I was just a mess. And like, I'm sure my girlfriends, like they just let me be a mess and talk incessantly about it and cry incessantly. And, they were just amazing. And so once I started kind of healing, after lots of work and trying all of those various things, I wanted to give back to them. Just like, I don't want to say I was a selfish person. I was very needy of like love and support. And,
Yeah.
we all go through those points, and they really just showed up in spades. And it was a reminder to me of how strong sisterhood can be, and female presence in my life, and feminine wisdom, and not to sound cliche and like woo woo, but all of those things that women share, bonds with one another that men don't understand or can't understand because it's not their lived experience. And so I wanted to give back for being such a needy, like emotional sponge during that year. And I planned just like, I love curating events and um, resources and knowledge. I have a background in higher ed for the past 20 years. So I'm a teacher at heart. And I wanted to curate this night of just giving back to these people that had supported me for the past year. And so I hired a private chef to come in and cook us dinner.
Oh,
And
nice.
Natalie from Harmony, I'm longtime friends with her, came in and did a private yoga class in the back. And I had a fortune teller come in and give everybody readings. And it was just such a beautiful, like, night of giving back. And I didn't want it to end. And so I think that kind of moved me into this direction of like planning events like that and wellness retreats and
Right.
workshops and just getting in touch with one another in ways that feel really scary sometimes and uncomfortable. But then as soon as you kind of see that vulnerability in someone else, it's just really beautiful. It's funny. I have a friend who's like uber confident and she like exudes sex. And I'm always like, I want to be confident like her. I want. And there was one moment after her divorce that we sat here. We had both gotten divorced around the same time, and I was drinking then. That's also something that I've changed. I haven't had a drink in several years, but I was a drinker and smoker then. And so I'm like smoking a pack of cigarettes and drinking my gin martinis, and we're both like crying. And it was the first time I had actually seen her be vulnerable, because she's just very strong and kind of presents to the world in this way, like, well, it's their loss, like and I'm like, I want that. And when I saw her in this really vulnerable moment, she became like even more beautiful to me. And I just like that stuck with me. And
Yeah.
like, while I want to build people up, and I think there's a place for that, I also think oftentimes when you say, like, I'm scared and
Right.
I don't know what to do next, like,
Oh, yeah. 100%.
People feel that because they feel it, whether they like
Right,
show that
right.
to the world or not, right? Like we
I
all
think
have wounds.
that's what's so like what resonates with me with you, and not even knowing you that well, it's that you give off this aura of, that you want to help others. And I think pivoting from such like a traumatic experience where we all experience different things at different times, and really channeling that into other people, and really feeling like you're finding other people's power and strength, and that's kind of empowering you back, right? So essentially, like, it's a give and take, and this flow of like energy between people. It drives you to become even more stronger. And sometimes things like that happen for us to really kind of awaken us to that next level, right? So
When I love that you said channeling, like for me,
mhm.
a lot of like the things I do now, or I realize that for me, like channeling that pain into creative endeavors. I started
Yeah,
publishing after, some of that, like it was
awesome.
like the only way I felt like I'm going to be okay. And so I have a course that I designed on how to live and write creatively. It's async. But like
Nice.
pouring into using the pain, I guess, as like a
Mhm.
stepping stone for metamorphosis. I like to think of it as like the
Yeah,
hero's journey, like coming home back to yourself. Like,
yeah. It's amazing to me because it is part of the human experience, and some people never really get to the level that you're at of that awareness piece. We kind of just go through the daily grind, and not really, we, like you were saying, drinking and doing other things that like aren't the most positive things to kind of, push that down. So the fact that you are taking something that was hurtful for you, and you felt like less empowered, and really kind of bringing that power back, is really amazing, to me to watch and get to know
don't get me
you.
wrong,
And
there are
hopefully,
days that I'm like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to feel this. I don't, it's funny, like when you start going down that spiritual path too, it's like there's no going back. Like I can't not feel it now or not, but there are certainly days where I'm like, I don't want to feel that. Like I want to compartmentalize. But I try and look at the flip side of that as like most artists are like super sensitive people. And so without that like level of sensitivity, maybe I couldn't write beautiful words or, find.
how do you find your inspiration, and how do you find other people that are similar to the way you're thinking it? So I feel like that would be a difficult. How do you do that? How do you find other people that have like the level that of open spirituality and
Honestly, I think it's one of those things like you have to live the experience. And when you get to a point where you're just desperate to do things differently because you can't keep going the same
right?
way and survive, I don't think you go looking for it. I think it almost happens by like default, when there's no other way. Like you search for, there's a great quote. It's like, you can't heal in the same place that made you sick.
True, right. Well, that's
That's
amazing.
stuck with me. I'd love to get to a point. I tend to create when things are not going super swell for me. So like that's I'm like, I would love to be able to create when I'm like happy and in a good place and kind of tap into that same level of emotion. But for me, I tend to turn to it more when things are
Oh, I think 100%.
everything.
I think a lot of artists do that. I mean, I think that's where the beauty comes from, the dark, right? So that's where it comes from. If we're all living in the space of like, oh, everything's great, you're
Right.
never really gonna get to that deeper level, right? So that's amazing. I know there's like some people that, you've mentioned to me in the past that have inspired you. So like you have many. Who like inspires you? Like I know your friends and people you meet, but is there other people you look to for kind of advice?
So one person that I really love, if you haven't read the book Women Who Run with the Wolves, I would definitely recommend it. She's a Jungian psychoanalyst, but does a lot of dream work. And I actually studied with her out in Colorado. She's a New York Times bestseller. The language is just so poetic and deep and beautiful. It's not like an easy beach read, like it's dig in. She kind of breaks up a lot of stories we've been told and fairy tales and kind of does deep work around these stories. But I've never met someone in my whole life who I'm like, whoa, that person is like as close to magic that I'm ever gonna like be at the
Oh,
same, like, and she's an older woman now, but like her presence is just
yeah.
arresting. Like she walks in the room and you're like, she has like ancient wisdom within her. And so I would recommend that book to anybody as a good starting point. I'm a huge Elizabeth Gilbert fan. I love
Okay.
all of her work. You know, she says you don't do something for the landing, like you do it for the feeling of flying through the air. And I just kind of love that. Her and Brene Brown, that was an interview between them. So in terms of like authors and stuff like that, those are my two big ones. I've just been really lucky too in real life to meet people that are always wanting to learn more about themselves and the human condition and
Yeah.
how do we
Do you
feel better. Mhm.
do you find that you're meeting a lot of people from your events? Or is there a way that how are you bringing people to you to
Yeah. So actually, that's a great question. I had done and a perfect example I did a yoga class and vision board workshop right before COVID, like a couple years ago. And one of the people that attended that was Janie Walland, and she's an artist and a mom and was not drinking. And so we just kind of started chatting after the event. And I said, give me your number. Like, I want to connect more. And I had seen her at some market, like farmer's market, like 6 years prior. She has a very memorable look. So like I remembered the face, but I was like, how do I know this person? And we chatted and she got me involved in this Dreamweaver circle. And
Nice.
anyway, what ended up coming from that is I had seen a post on Instagram that said something like, there are people out there doing the things you say you want to do just because they chose to believe in themselves and do it. And so I called her and I said, Janie, I know I just met you, but you know, you're this amazing artist and I'm a writer and I'm spending all these money buying like Oracle decks online. I said, would you want to do one together? And so we did. We came up with this like Soulscape deck, and you can find them at Enchanted Grove,
Yes,
downtown
amazing.
Willoughby.
Yes, yes.
And it was just, and then COVID, you know, when we were talking about the deck, she was like, it should have a theme. Like usually these decks have a theme, like angels or animal medicine or
Wow.
whatever. And she said, you're a traveler. We should do it around travel. And I said, oh, we could call it Soulscape. And then the world closed down and nobody was traveling, but it became this
Right.
like travel of the psyche. And like a lot of the cards have very personal meanings. I almost lost my mom to COVID. She got it when it first came out and was on a vent for 2 weeks and has permanent like vocal cord damage. And
Wow.
so at that time, my family and I were like, we'll pray at noon on this day because you couldn't go anywhere or see anyone and we couldn't go to the hospital. And so I went with my girlfriend on a hike and I just brought my journal and a candle. And at that time, I like stopped and said a prayer. And I had posted something on Instagram. And then the next working meeting I had with Janie, I'm looking for the card really quick. Here it is. I saw my backpack and my water bottle
Oh
and
my
my
gosh.
journal that she had like captured onto the card. And it just says, pack smartly, bring the things essential to sustaining your soul. And it says,
Wow.
pack those things that aren't so easily pickpocketed, things that don't require high maintenance handling, that won't slow you down in customs, things that will see you through all types of terrain, all manner of climate, things that soothe a variety of sickness, belly, head, and heart. Things like your canyon like love, your creativity that shows up in ways that startle and surprise, your chameleon like ability to adapt and change, your errant passions that protect and nourish, your ability to question, and your willingness to change direction based on the answer. Mantras and meditations to feed your psyche, lessons you've gathered to keep you safe, memories to keep you warm, hope to keep you hydrated.
Wow.
That was a beautiful partnership.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that came and then like through COVID, like talk about using creativity to sustain yourself and keep sane and heal.
Oh yeah.
So it was, I guess, divine timing.
I really feel like this big theme for me with and just talking to you is like this sisterhood and this connection of people. And it's just like I don't think people really sometimes even realize like how powerful other women can be with just supporting one another and being there and really like seeing you, right? And I just find that so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So what do you think is kind of like your next thing that you want to bring to people and like let them hear about and kind of bring more? I was like, what's the next big thing,
Right,
on
right.
your plate, your 2023 goals?
Yeah. God, there's so many. There's always so many. That's my
I mean,
problem.
definitely with you for sure.
Like I need to just pick a
You're
few.
like all over. Yeah, no, but I
Yeah.
feel like you're bringing
Um,
everything to something, right? You're like, it's all here, but you're bringing it in. And I think like centering it to, funnel it out. So yeah.
well, I will say when I developed my website, ChristinaAmbrosia.com, I had talked to some business coaches and they're like, you need like a niche. And I'm like, I'm not like a niche person. So I guess my niche is not having a niche. Like I try and infuse like creativity into like everything I do. And I've always been the type of person where like work bleeds into personal life, bleeds into romantic life, bleeds into, and that's just who I am.
Right.
And sometimes maybe that's
Connected.
like inappropriate. Like I swear on every job interview. Somehow I'm like, Christina, quit swearing during job interview. But I get the job. I guess there's
Well, I
something.
feel like you're a very authentic person, and you're not going to shut that off. So, this is who I am in every facet with everybody. And I feel like very rare and very beautiful because I feel like a lot of people, we have like our masks we wear and, you turn this on and turn this off for others. But being able to be vulnerable, like you were mentioning early, and be authentic with people is like a very rare gift.
I've
So, and I
tried.
think
Like I'm like, I'm gonna be this woman of mystery. And like I just like it's whatever I'm thinking. I talk a lot to process. So it just like comes
makes
out.
sense. Yeah.
Um, but so what's next? I think I have a Galentine's Day event, speaking of sisterhood, coming up Sunday, February 12th. So that's next Sunday from when we're recording this. It's $40, and it's really a chance for women to get to know each other in more intimate ways that we often don't take the time, or I guess feel like we have the permission to do in everyday life. And
Just
coming
feel accepted, right? Just
to
feel like this is a community that's going to accept you and not. No, I love that.
yeah, and where we have a chance to kind of strip those masks that you're saying, or at least show like multiple versions of ourselves in a place that's safe and non-judged, and bringing us into like a deeper intimacy, both like with ourselves, with each other, and like the larger world. So that's coming up that I'm excited about. And then the next big thing, I'm actually co-facilitating with my sister, and it's called Destination Dialed In, and it's about micro adjustments to map your life to. And
Wow.
it's going to be a 2-week, $20, async kind of thing where we'll do a recording, so you'll have access to it once you're in the special
Amazing.
group. Yeah, of just those little things that really move the dial, like on who we say we want to be.
Right.
We have these like big visions and plans, and like suddenly I'm going to be this person who works out
Right.
4 times a week, or who doesn't do
Journey.
things personally, or who learns a language. And like the intention's great, but because we almost like start so big, don't make a whole lot of progress. And I was thinking there's this great analogy of when pilots fly, they spend something like 80% of the flight making micro adjustments to their flight plan. And
Wow.
so it's this constant like, okay, bring myself back, bring myself back, bring myself back. And so this course is really about that, like the best tips and tricks like we've learned to kind of move the dial on where we want to go. And there will be a point at the halfway mark where we'll have like a share out and a live and kind of accountability and working through the process. So I'm really excited about that. And
I'll definitely be a part of that. I love that.
yeah, I would love that. It
And
was
we'll
really
share the link in here too at the end.
yeah.
So we'll have that there.
I was really inspired by the book Atomic Habits. So that's some of those tips originate from that book. And the other two big things I can think of is Jen Jones Donatelli. She does the Artist Way classes around here. She's amazing. We've partnered up and are offering some corporate creative field days.
Awesome.
So based in a lot of design thinking and team building, perspective shifting. So that's moving more into a corporate vein, which like I said, I've spent a lot of my years in higher ed. And So I'm excited about that. And speaking of Jen's, Jen Easel and I always have something coming up. So right now we're kind of at this break point, but stay tuned for more with her. And then lastly, I guess,
Then.
just that How to Live and Write Creatively course. It's full of it's 5 modules, and it kind of follows this journey analogy, if you will, about how do we introduce creativity into our lives on a daily basis. And like one of the examples I give is follow a color throughout the day. And that's from one of the prompt books. So like wherever I see yellow, I'm just going to kind of go where it leads me.
Oh.
So that I try and give like a little inspiration piece, a little lesson, if you will, and then a chance for you to apply what we're talking about in your own life. And that's all async. Do it at your own pace. I have a video for each module, but just, again, I'm like this curator, all of the things that I've done a lot of work on myself. And I've had a lot of heartbreak, and I'm just a deeply sensitive person. So it's kind of all the tools that I have found to be the most effective, at least in my journey. And again, different things are going to work for different people. And I try and mention that in the course too. Like I'm not someone, I struggle with meditation, like sitting and being quiet. And
yes,
maybe my meditation looks different, and it's putting on my shoes and running, or
right.
More guided meditations I do better with, and that's okay. So I've always been someone choice, like give people a lot of choice and let them find what works for them.
I love it. I love it. I've gotten so much just from the short conversation from you. Like it's like encapsulating who you are and what you're bringing to, everyone. Because this is like the point of this is really just we're a community and bringing everybody together, and just being able to see your lovely face and hear the story. It's just like, I'm excited. So we'll definitely have more conversations in the future. I'm going to put the links below when we post this. And yeah, like, have a great day. It was so nice chatting with you, Christina.
Before you sign off, can I pull a card for you for today?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
So let's see. What do you need to hear today?
Do I ask a question?
Nope.
Just think it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll send you a picture. I'll take a picture of the front and back so you have it. I'll text it to you.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, I'm pulling one for you. I always get like not nervous, but excited to see what's going to come out for them. So it's funny, I was just talking about choice. Choice, follow the call of the crow. And it says, crows are known for their intelligence, adaptability, and resourcefulness. It is easy to feel overwhelmed by life, confused by choice. Just as the crow fashions what it needs when it needs it out of whatever wayward scraps it can find, be confident in your ability to craft solutions when there are seemingly none, and your ability to tap into your creativity to problem solve. You are provided for and protected. Hold this knowing when the path divides, when the future feels scary and uncertain. Your voice may not always come out as a loud caw, but it's there, waiting to be heard. You'll remember, crows don't forget.
Wow.
So, yay!
That's amazing.
So much. It was so lovely actually getting to see your face, and I appreciate you taking the time.
Yes.
Look forward to seeing
I look forward. I will see you in all the things. So I'm really excited as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day.